Hi, I'm Indra, and I'd like to welcome you to the Messy Middle Matters, where my friends and I explore all the twists, turns, and challenges that arise in the messy middle of work. Hey, everyone. Today's episode came out of an ad hoc conversation that Amanda and I were having just last week. And so, the scenario is, let me paint the picture for you. There's a senior leader of your organization and they come up to you and they say, you know what? Let's co-create this thing together. Or maybe it's a hiring manager who's like, you know what? We're going to shape your role together after you're hired. Like there are so many versions of this scenario that seem really well-intentioned. Like you'd be like, oh, it feels empowering, that they're going to let me shape it until you've done it once or twice when you're just like, ooh, this feels a little bit icky and it feels a little bit like you're making me do your job and not in a good way without any of that. Like it's like one of those quiet promotions. So anyway, I'm excited to talk to Amanda about this. Hey, Amanda, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Indra?
Oh, I'm doing well and I am spicy. I am spicy on this one because, it's going to be, it's one that it hits really squarely because, as a get stuff doneer, I know you identify as a get stuff doneer. As a glue worker, both of us are glue workers, right? Like the people who keep organizations together. And we're both generalists. Like people turn to us when they're not really sure what to do or how to do it. So this there's a fine line between like, hey, pull me in because I want to be part of that conversation because, often we get pulled in too late too. Like it's either too soon or too late. And today's conversation will be a little bit more about that too soon side, but without alienating that person so that you can get brought in at the right time. So I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Your intro about figuring out let's shape your role together. Um, I've been the first TPM a few times
Mm-hmm.
at a company, and the number of times I've been told, "Oh, well, you're the expert. Like we're relying on you to figure out what needs to be done." And it's like, okay, like I get that, but you hired me for a reason. Like you wrote this job description, you put together this job posting, you did all the interviewing. You hired me for a reason, I'm assuming. Like surely you had something in mind. And I've been told, yeah, like we just know we need help.
We just know we need help. And I don't think this is unique to just our craft. I think I have one scenario where I shaped the job with someone and it turned out well. That was with actually Pascal, who we both know. Right. So, like, he and I, but we'd worked together and we kind of knew he knew how I worked. I knew how he worked and I knew what we needed to do. But so often it doesn't quite work out that way. Right. And I've seen it with crafts, other crafts. So design, I've seen it happen with designers. Like, I know I need design. I just don't know what to do with it. Or like, oh, there's a technical element to it. Like, I need a software engineer, but what kind of software engineer? You brought in a database engineer, but we're talking about an app like that has no database component. What are we doing? Like, so a lot of this can, it, and that leader knows they have a blind spot and they think they're doing the right thing and they think that they're doing empowerment. I don't want to shame that leader, right? They don't know what they don't know, but I challenge that leader to come into conversation slightly more prepared so that it becomes a true collaboration and not just a delegation and outsourcing of your strategy and your responsibilities, because that's what they're really doing when they don't give you any sort of structure or guidance.
Yeah, totally. And I think part of the reason why it worked out with Pascal was because there was that context already, right? Like he knew you, you knew him. Like there was some context given to start with, as opposed to like, here's a blank page.
Right. We had done a similar project. So it was back at WeWork, and he was doing a migration over. I'm going to speak over people's heads for just a second. Excuse the jargon. We needed to get the entire engineering organization of 1,200 software engineers migrated over onto a Kubernetes infrastructure, Kate's infrastructure. And his Pascal's team had built a lot of the thing that everyone needed to move to, but they couldn't incentivize everyone to move over to it. Right.
So I became his hype man. I became the person who got, enticed everyone to move over. I also created a lot of structures that helped both sides of engineering, the core development team, right? The infrastructure developers and the folks who were building the client facing stuff. So like he and I had done sort of a test run of that already. And I'd helped him with a lot of the stuff and he'd seen the stuff that I'd done at Verizon. So like it was okay. It was okay. And it worked out really well until it didn't. But that wasn't Pascal's fault. That wasn't my fault. That was just the way the market goes sometimes. But it, it, when you say like, let's go to another scenario where, it is, I want a designer. I want to, we always talk about design because it's really easy for people to wrap their heads around. I want a designer. You don't just pull someone in just to do stuff and draw pretty pictures. You need to help to give them structure. Like one of the things I learned working with designers is you need a brief. Where's the brief? They are obsessed about getting the brief. And others are like, but like, what do you mean? Like, no, who is it for? Why are we doing it? What outcomes are we trying to drive? What are the goals of this? Do we have a sense of how we want to get there? Like I'm talking about rough sketch level straw man concepts in your brain of like, hey, you know what? I'm thinking that I want an iPhone application that people can use to, monitor what the traffic lights are doing on their corner at any given time, because I think that they want to know when they should leave because there's a traffic light that's really annoying on their corner. Okay, ridiculous idea. but that's the level of like, just give us something. And then you can bring in the people and say, hey, can you validate and see, am I on track? Am I off track? What do you think of that idea? What do you think of the beginning of that? What do you think of it? And then there's something to react to.
Right. And I think that's the key. There's something to react to, right? Like the even if it's a vague, pie in the sky goal of like what success looks like, that's better than nothing at all.
It's better than nothing. And the other example, like, and I had a conversation with someone recently about something, and they were like, "Oh, we want to co-create, co-create, co-create." I'm like, within the team, with users, and I understand that because so much of the literature makes it sound like it's studied. So much of what's been published and what's been popular in the business rags that are out there, like, is this co-creation concept. But a lesson I learned early when I was a baby project manager, or maybe a teenage project manager, right? Was, everyone was saying, "Oh, you can't create the project plan without talking to me first." So I had to go, I was working in an agency, I had to go to the UX leaders, I had to go to the technology leaders, I had to go to strategy leaders. And, I would say to them, what do you want on the project plan? They're like, well, it depends. I like, is the sky blue on that day? And will we be turning left or will we be turning right? There were all these, it depends that happens. And I could never get them to write a single thing down. I went to my boss at the time. I'm like, I'm doing exactly what they asked me to do, is don't draw a project plan without me, but they can't give me anything. Todd said to me, he goes, Indra, they give them something to react to. Draw a project plan and let them tell you why it's wrong. That advice has served me so well throughout my entire career. When people have something to react to rather than a blank slate, it's much better. And that actually invites the co-creation. You don't go there and say, here's my project plan and this is how I'm going to do it. You say, here's my project plan, here's my concept, here's my idea, here's my, like thesis, here's my whatever. And it's like, I've roughed it out to some degree. I need you as a partner. You're the expert in this world. Can you react to it? Can you validate it? Can you change it? Can you now take this foundation that I've set and add on to it, or take away the parts that don't make sense? Give people something to react to, because when you don't, all of that emotional and intellectual and strategic and leadership layer responsibilities lands on the person that you're engaging.
Yeah. I'm laughing because it's a post or something on the internet went
Mm,
viral at some point, and it was basically the advice that if someone posts a question, and this was in the context of software engineering, if someone
sure.
posts a problem on Reddit, no one will respond.
No.
But if you post the problem and
your wrong solution, everyone will respond and tell you why it's wrong and what the right answer is.
Human beings love telling you what's wrong. They
Yeah.
love it because there's lots of reasons to it, and this kind of goes into our episode around perfectionism and some other things out there, like, and I've got really strong feelings about people who tell me you should be doing this and you should be doing that too much, right? But I invite that. I invite that in the right ways of like, hey, here's the plan. Here's something I drew. It gets you much more stuff. The other thing to consider, if you're doing too much of this co-creation, I hadn't thought of this earlier, but like when you're working with um, a lot of the things is like, oh, I'm going to ask my customers what they want. I'm going to build them what they tell me. People rarely will, like, there's all these, examples of case studies. People don't know what they want until they experience it,
Mhm.
right? They think they know what they want, but until it's real, like I was working on I was leading a UX design team, and there was a platform that was being built. We had our partners, our product people had engaged an external agency. The agency created something beautiful. I'm like, that's not going to work. My product partner's like, but that's exactly what everyone asked for. I'm like, I understand that, but I've never seen that be successful. I've seen people try this, but I've never seen it be successful. I don't think it's going to work. Right. But this is what they told me. We launched the thing. Clients didn't like it because what they wanted and looks beautiful in a sizzle reel doesn't always it doesn't always work well for how you're doing your job. So give them something to react to.
Right. High level guidance, something. Give them something to react to. Give
Right.
them the picture on the page, even if it's ugly, as opposed
Mhm.
to a blank sheet of paper.
Mhm. So, a lot of people, so some people who listen to this podcast are in leadership positions. So my mandate to y'all, or my request to all of you, is, think about it when you are entering into one of these co-creation moments. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with the person that you're engaging with. Sometimes the answer might be, hey, I really don't know where to start. I know this is not ideal. I know this is not necessarily fair, but can you come into this room and brainstorm with me for a little bit? Because I need somebody to react to. That's a different framing than like, that's a different framing. So frame it right. If you need to go and enlist someone even before there's like enough of a straw man for people to react to, that's my request of you. Think about it, right? And for the people who are on the receiving end, it can be hard. It can be hard when you're in that situation, and sometimes you don't know you're in that situation until like 3 days later and you're like, "Oh, 3 days ago, they messed with me and they pulled me into something and now suddenly everything is my responsibility. How did that happen?" Right? I
Yeah.
don't know if I've been in that scenario, Amanda. I imagine you have too.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope.
Slippery
I think
slope.
that's another episode.
It is another episode, and I've got my classic "Don't make me regret trying to be helpful" mug, my old school one. Because that's how it feels. Like you are helpful, and then you're having these regrets, right? This is
Right.
where my favorite tool for this. I would love to hear how my latest modern tool for things like this is Chat GPT or your favorite AI of choice. I'm not saying that I don't take anything that my AI spits out as gospel. Let's be really clear. But sometimes, I just need hey, am I crazy? Gut check. And then and it might spit crazy back at me, right? But I'm like, here's a scenario, here's a thing, here's a da 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 da. I feel like I shouldn't be doing this. What are your thoughts? And it gives me responses that really, it helps me figure out when I'm hallucinating, right? It might hallucinate back at me, but it helps me figure out if I'm hallucinating. It just helps me ground myself in like, am I fooling myself? Because helpers are always inclined to want to help. And when I have an instinct to not want to help, and I'm like, is it me or is it them? I don't know.
Yeah, it's I don't use ChatGPT for that.
I
But
is it too much? Or maybe I don't know. We'll see.
yeah,
Time will tell.
time will tell. I don't use it for that, but for me, it's been a lot of training myself,
Mm.
honestly, to just like take a beat instead of being like, yes, I want to help. Like, yes, add that thing to my plate. Like, yes, 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 yes. And just being and this has taken years of realizing what the problem is and what the trap is, um,
Word.
and changing my behavior accordingly, right? So, like, I'll take a beat. I'll, I've I've learned that you don't have to say yes or no. You don't have to give an answer right away, right? So, like, take a minute, assess what it is, really think about it. What are the ramifications of this? Is this something that I even have bandwidth? And bandwidth can mean so many things. But in these types of things, it's usually like emotional bandwidth to handle this, right? Because it, like you said, in a lot of cases, it's the delegation of like the messy stuff, the anxiety, the
The
figure it
hard
out part.
stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you went there because it's reminding me that's some good advice that I also received early in my career, from a gentleman named Martin. He's like, you know, there's somewhere in that time period, I learned, hey, I know that I'm not good as accept I know I'm not good at assessing my bandwidth and what's possible in a particular moment. Give me a few hours or give me till tomorrow and I'll let you know.
Mhm.
'Cause I need time. I need time to just really, like, look at things. I'm not a computer. I'm not a computer. I love that.
Yeah, and actually, if you're being rushed to make a decision by someone, if someone is pressuring you to make the decision, chances are they're the ones benefiting from this decision of you saying yes,
I need to
like
get my red
right now.
flags out. I wish I had my red flags at my desk. I need a red flag. I need a red
Right.
flag. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
It's that pressure. It's that it's yeah, it can be a sign. It can be a
Mhm.
sign of that.
It can be. It's not always, but it can be.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
So
it's that delegation of like, I don't want to deal with this right now. So I need you to deal with it for me.
yeah. Another one that comes to mind, it's a reframe on something that I usually use when I'm coaching others in getting others their partners to buy in on something. Usually when I always a question you can ask yourself is what's in it for me?
Mhm.
And you can literally say that question out loud. Say, "Hey, I see how important this is. I see how this is going to drive the bottom line. What's in it for me? I'm having a hard time understanding how I fit into this puzzle. I know I can do a lot of things. I see how I can benefit you, but what's in it for me?"
Yeah. And like many things, it's a game of trade-offs, right? Because like
Sure.
what comes to mind for me is back to the oh well we need a designer, right? Like I've seen a lot because I worked with a lot of engineers. I've seen a situation where like an engineer is on their way to being promoted and they're being empowered to lead a new project. And leadership is like, yeah, this is a great opportunity for you. Like you've got full ownership. But as the project progresses, it's like, oh wait, the key decisions still need to be run up the chain. Engineer can't unblock themselves. Like when things get stuck, like they're stuck. And like every decision needs to be approved by someone else. And like that's not full ownership. That's someone delegating all the responsibility and all the figure it out, all the hard stuff to you under the guise of it's a great opportunity.
And none of the authority and
Yes.
none of the paycheck. I am back
Mhm.
to whether we like it or not, we live in a capitalist society. And I wanna get paid for my labor. I want there to be benefit to me. I want there to be
Right.
something in it for me. And
Right.
the answer when I say what's in it for me is like, you get to keep your job. That might be a fair answer in some
Right, but
scenarios.
it's a game of trade-offs,
It's a
right? Like,
game of trade-offs. And
if
and I don't
that's
mean
what
that
it is.
yeah, and I'm not saying don't start threatening people's jobs. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm thinking more like, "Hey, this is something we need to do for the business, and it needs to get done, and you're literally the only person who can do it." "Okay, great. Fine, I will do it for the next 2 weeks, at which point we will reevaluate."
Right.
Or if you're in the muck and you're looking at the rearview mirror and you're, "How did I get here?" "Hey, when we walked into this, I didn't know what we were walking into. You didn't know what we were walking into. Now that I'm looking at it with fresh eyes, let's renegotiate." Right? You don't
Mhm.
necessarily use that word, but renegotiate the terms of your engagement and say, hey, this is half of the stuff that I'm doing and the decisions I'm making are above my pay grade. I'm backseat driving your strategy. This makes me feel uncomfortable. What do we
Yeah.
do?
Yeah. And, you know, if what's in it for you is just that experience, cool.
That could be fine.
Yeah.
I've done that before.
I've done that before.
I built a career on doing that. Come on. Come
Right.
on.
Again, slippery slope. Right. It's a
Slippery
slippery
slope
slope
and
of helping, of
the
being
goal
the
is to, like,
helper.
when you slip down, to slip back up again somehow.
Hmm.
Something.
Right. When you said backseat driving,
Yeah.
like backseat driving the strategy, what
Yeah.
came to mind was everyone's favorite thing, OKRs. Um,
Oh,
like I,
tell me more. This is a
yeah,
slippery slope, but I'm happy to go on it.
I know
OKRs.
this is a slippery slope too, but like what came to mind with backseat driving was like the multiple times in my career where I've seen leaders be like, okay, it's time to plan OKRs for the quarter and go. And when you ask questions like, what are the company's goals for the quarter? What are the department's goals for the quarter? My favorite answer is, oh, well, we want to co-create them with the teams. We want you to have input. We don't want to be prescriptive.
I am delighted you brought this up. It's a lesson I learned years ago. I had a woman, Lori, wonderful human being, still a friend to this day. She was writing her annual goals. So we weren't in OKRs. We were just like literally her annual goals for the year. We're in goal setting season right now, right? For everyone, it's either wrap up or planning or whatever. Everybody's in that cycle right now. Um, and she's like, I want to make sure that my goals ladder up to your goals for what you're trying to do with the team, et cetera, et cetera. And I sat there and I thought about it. I'm like, this makes sense. This is the way that you can ensure that you as a individual contributor or somebody not, as high in the food chain, so to speak, or the pyramid or whatever metaphor we want to use for the organization, um, can be and align your work to the values, which then helps to fortify your job, right? Which is important. And the problem is that often we're in these catch 22s with this stuff, whether it's OKRs or whatever it might be in this arena, where no one has published the goals for the company yet,
Hmm.
right? No one. And so how do you figure out what you're laddering up to? And it really feels icky. It really feels icky when you're that person at the bottom. And, I think it is a fair pushback saying it's not, or the other one, they'll say, oh, we're trying to do OKRs bottom up this year. That never works.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Never, ever, ever, ever works. I hear it all the time, but it never, ever, ever works. The people are saying, I want yours first, are really fair. And the reality of it is that, okay, so you're at a certain level of the organization, the company has not published their goals. You're not allowed to say, "Hey, just base it off of last year's stuff. I'll write mine based on yours." No. No, 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 no. Things do not flow downhill if you're a good leader. You say to yourself, "Hey, CEO person did not publish their OKRs or their goals for the year, but I'm in enough conversations where I have a sense of where it is. Let me create a draft of mine, and then my team can base it on theirs. I will tell them it's a draft. So if we need to change things when the official ones come out, we can all change them together. But it's your job as a leader to make stuff up so that your team has confidence that the work that they're creating can ladder up. Otherwise, you are literally letting the CEOs or the boards or whoever's, responsibilities cascade past you down onto your people. And that is terrible leadership. Full stop.
Yep. Um,
Rant over.
I cringed when you said bottom up because I've heard that so many times, and in my experience, it doesn't work.
It's cheating. It's cheating on
It
the
it
part of
is. It's just
leadership.
like, "Oh, I'm just gonna copy your answers and submit them, like, for my test results." Um, Yeah, I just what flashback, right? Of okay, fine, like, in lieu of not having published top level goals, yeah, okay, we'll do it bottom up because you're making us, right? And, like, you control my paycheck, right? So, like, I'm gonna do what I'm told. Then we present our plan, and then it gets questioned up the wazoo.
But where did you come from? Where did this doesn't align with the thing that I never told you about. Like, how like,
Yeah.
what were you thinking? Like, how did
Right. Right. What were you thinking? Why did you choose that one? What about? What about? What about? And like everybody who actually has done that work leaves deflated, unmotivated, and like WTF. Like it's as if the leaders knew exactly what what the plan was, but didn't want to tell us because they didn't want to be prescriptive. And right, they
code word
didn't
for
want to be
I
prescriptive.
don't want to take the time to figure it out.
Right, exactly, and, you know, I like to compare that those types of situations to the IRS knowing exactly how much in taxes you owe each year, but they're gonna make you guess, and if you guess wrong, jail.
Death and taxes, the two things we can count on here in the US. But yes, yes. And what a terrible way to start your year.
Mhm,
Right? You're trying to set like you're in your year kickoff. If you're or quarter kickoff or whatever kickoff, if you're talking OKRs, if you're talking personal goals, if you're talking about any of that stuff, your job as a leader is to like the whole hope is at the end of that planning period, everyone's like, "Hurrah! Let's storm the castle together." Yay! But everyone's like, "Yay, storming the
mhm.
castle. I just got beat up before we even started trying.
Yeah,
Yay."
and that's really how it feels like. It feels like you just got beat up, you just got run over by a truck.
It
And,
really
you know,
does.
earlier in this episode, we talked about give people something to react to.
Mhm.
Yes. But if you are the leader, don't expect the people who report to you to give you something to react to. This is what they're trying to do when they put you in this situation.
Yeah. So when you do wind up in the situation, the reality is push back, ask for stuff. If the leader is strong, they'll be like, "You know what? You're right. I totally missed that. I was just trying to do 500 things. Let me do it. I'll have it for you in the next day or so. So you'll have something at least to base things off of. We might need to revise later, but great." Um, if you have a weak leader, you'll get not that answer. And you'll have to figure it out yourself. And that's where I love the concept of finding your tribe at work, right? Find the doers. It's like Mr. Rogers' advice. Find the helpers. They're always helping. Um, find the helpers. Create a unifying, like create a little subcommittee, unofficial, because you don't have any of the authority, but create that and figure out what you guys can do together. Create a coalition. Create a coalition. Maybe that's a better word. Create a coalition and do your best, because the reality of it is you can't get people to do things that they are unwilling to do, especially if they're more senior than you are. It's really hard, but keep on trying. Don't give up for next year or next cycle. Always start at the beginning and say, don't always assume that they're not going to give you what you need. Ask every day, hey, this time did you have the thing? Hey, this time did you have the thing? And if it fails again, or if they fail again to give you what you need, hey, create tap into that coalition, figure out what you can, tap into your network, and do the best that you can and give yourself a whole lot of grace. Write the caveats at the bottom saying, hey, based on past experience with XYZ inputs, da, 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 da. Put all your caveats on the final slide or in the email when you share it or whatever it is to protect yourself. And just do the best you can, and don't try not to beat yourself up when you get called out and asked the what about scenarios that you were talking about, Amanda. Like, didn't you think about this? And didn't you think, like, dude, not my job. But
Right.
inside voice, not out loud. But just give yourself grace when they have that moment. Shake it off, dance it out, whatever you got to do to try to shake off that critique, which is not yours to have.
Yeah. A strategy I like to use is I like to document things, right? And so if I find myself in this situation, I will document like what inputs I had at what time and when, what I asked for, when
Mhm.
I got it, did I ever get it, and what the outcomes were. And I don't want history to repeat itself next quarter. So like I'll pull up my receipts and if I asked for the same things again, I'll be like, "Hello, I asked for this, this time last quarter. This is when I got it. Like, could we get it a little sooner? If we don't get it sooner than this, then like this is what's going to happen. We're just going to go through the same cycle." And remember how painful that was? Remember how everybody was deflated and felt like they just got beat up? Yeah, let's not do that.
That's such a great tactic. That's such a great tactic because people, until they live it and see it in writing,
Uh-huh.
because the brain can trick itself, right? Like, putting things in writing and "Hey, this is how things went last time. Are we doing it the same way?" Like, this is the most passive version. "Are we doing it the same way? If we are, then, like, expect this, and this challenges again."
Right.
Like, which gaps are we willing to fill in this time, right? But repeat it to them. They will forget. Brains are tricky. Brains are tricky, tricky, tricky little things. I don't care what anyone says. I love it.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? We covered a lot of good ground today.
We did cover a lot of good ground. I don't think I have any other thoughts. Like I'm
Yeah.
trying to like replay the last, I don't know, 20 minutes or so.
There's a
And
lot. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
let's just
it's a lot, and I don't think we missed anything that we wanted to cover.
no, I think we covered more ground than we thought we would. Like, I think so just to recap a few things. Collaboration, partnership, different, right? If you're the one who is more senior in the conversation, ask yourself, am I truly partnering with this person? Am I setting them up for success? Am I coming to the table with the things that I need to? Like, is that there? If I'm on the other side, am I being set up for success? Ask yourself, see what you can figure out and see what you can challenge, what you can't challenge, what are the pros and the cons? And just constantly, I like that last piece that you said about like keeping notes of what was going on, because it's a great way of also checking yourself, like what worked, what didn't. So you can try the next time this scenario shows up again, how can you engage a little differently so it's more favorable to everyone, not just the person who's getting all the benefits who's in that power position.
Yeah, totally. What's in it for me?
What's in it for me? What's in it for me? It's a great question. And it's not the selfish question that it can sometimes seem to be. For those of us who give too much, it's a great question to ask. It's a great question to ask. What's in it for me?
Totally.
Amanda, thank you again for joining me for this conversation, a rich one that came out of like a spontaneous little chat that you and I were having. We were like, oh my God, I think this is an episode. How did that happen? Um, and I trust that everyone who's listening got something out of this one. And I hope that you all join us next time for another topic from the messy middle. Bye, everyone. If you've got some Get Stuff Doners on your team or are one who takes pride in your work, we just dropped a brand new I Get Stuff Done collection in the Messy Middle merch shop. You'll also find the classics Don't Make Me Regret Trying to Be Helpful and Words Matter. They make fantastic year end gifts, and yes, we even have gift cards. And if something's running late, there's a free I ordered it, but it's not here yet download you can hand them in the meantime. Check everything out at messymiddlemerch.com. And if you like this episode, a like, share, or subscribe goes a really long way in helping us spread the word. Till next time.